I'm Shalom, I'm 18 years old. I grew up in Wellington and I live in Auckland now.
My name is Charlotte, I'm 21 years old. I kind of grew up in a lot of different places, but we'll mainly say the Wairarapa and Tauranga.
My name is Takudzwa, Simbarashe, Soropa. I'm 18 years old and I grew up in central Auckland.
I don't remember what it's like to have a dad, so it's not like I compare now to then, like it's just normal for me. I was old enough when the whole like abuse happened and when he went into prison, like I was old enough to actually know like the process and what was going on and stuff, so I never really questioned, oh, why don't I have a dad? I always knew the reason. When my mum was pregnant and obviously like my dad like hit her, and so my dad just told me like take your siblings and like lock them in the room, so like I had to take them while they were all crying, and like I had to just like hug them and be like it's gonna be okay, and like we just stayed in the room, and that was the point where she was like, nah, like I have to leave this. And yeah, he went in there for a long time, and now he's just like in and out for like a lot of different things.
I don't have many memories of him apart from maybe just some pictures that I've seen of him and my mom. I feel like I've lived my life in a way that having my mom as my parent is it, you know? It's not like a two-person role for parents. There wasn't many things that he left behind or anything like that, because it was all back in Zimbabwe when he passed away. He passed away in a car crash, so that was all like in Africa. And so moving here especially, it's kind of just like even more distance from that. Like I'm never gonna come across anything in my house or like anything that's gonna be of his or from him, so.
My dad died when I was almost 9, so I guess I've got memories from about up until then with him. I wasn't actually told the specific reason then because Mum thought I was too young to know, but I instantly understood that he was gone and that I'd never see him again. So my dad suffered from Asperger's syndrome, and a big I guess side effect or factor of Asperger's is things like anxiety and depression, and so I guess my dad was kind of a bit triggered because his mother passed away from cancer, and then not too long after that his depression got pretty bad, and he eventually just couldn't handle it anymore, so he decided to hang himself. It's okay.
I kind of just knew how life was, you know, that you have your mom, you have your dad, and kids have both. Some kids don't. And I think I've just known a lot of people that only have single parents, because the school that I went to, Dilworth, it's there's a lot of that, because the school itself runs on a scholarship where it's just kind of families that aren't as well off, that are supported by single parents that don't make as much money. So yeah, no, I'd never felt angry or jealous, just because I've kind of known that's kind of how some people have it.
Yeah, something that always comes to mind when I think of my dad and like a memory associated with him is this one time, I was probably about 7, and I used to love to make up dances and then show my parents. And I made my dad come and do one with me, so I did a dance by myself, he did one by himself, and then we did one together. And I just remember his dancing was just so ridiculous. It was like this robotic meets modern like hip hop or something, and he was just running across the room, and it made us all laugh. I guess you could say I did get maybe just a little bit jealous of other kids actually still having their dad and not appreciating them enough. And so I would see my friends and their dads, and it kind of changed because I didn't know how necessarily to act around like an older male. So when I went around to my friends' houses and stuff and I had to meet their dads, it was a little intimidating, but eventually I just learned that that's what like a father figure is like.
I guess just like the one thing I remember that got me was like, I was at my best friend's house for like the first time, and then I just saw like the way that her and her dad were acting, and like how he was just like play fighting with her and just like being just like a dad, you know? And then I was like, oh, I don't have that. But yeah, that was just me like as a kid. Now I'm like fine with it.
Yeah, after my dad died, I never really found another like father figure or male figure to look up to and kind of use as like an idol even, I guess. I guess it was because my mum was so busy looking after us children, she never really found somebody else to, I guess, get married to eventually. So I never really had another father figure that I could have looked up to after Dad had gone. The only person I could probably think of is my dad's dad, my granddad, but because we're originally all from England, he lives there, so I wouldn't really see him that often at all or anything.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people that I would look up to in terms of being good male role models, just like not necessarily people that I have contact with, kind of just like people that, I don't know, I see on like TV, sports, like LeBron James, for real. That guy's like, you want to be LeBron because he's just such a great role model. But I feel like locally and around me, there has been like a lot of people that, have been good role models. Like uncles, family, friends, just people like that have done a real good job for their families. And it's kind of just like you want to do the same for your family once you have one,
One male figure that I look up to and is pretty much like a dad figure in my life would be my best friend's dad. He's like a pastor at our church, and he's always been there like from the start. We've known him since I was like born, so even like in my first proper relationship, he like sat down with my boyfriend and sat down and just did the things that a normal father would do, like tell him like don't hurt her and like this is what I expect from you, and then like he would just always give me advice on big decisions. So it was like, yeah, he was always there for me.
If I had to say something to my younger self about that exact situation, I would say, you're allowed to feel the emotion. Don't feel like you completely have to ignore it and push it away because you feel like you've got a role to do. You can feel that emotion. And also that it's okay to be hurt by this, because this whole situation is going to help define you as a person, and it's going to make every single thing that happens after this turn out the way it's supposed to, exactly, because everything happens for a reason.
I was just really lucky at a young age to have a mum who's like has such a strong faith and such a strong walk with God that like as a kid who grows up with like a single parent, they'll always have that gap or like that hole that their dad or their mum didn't fill. And so I was lucky to, at a young age, just know that gap in my life, that like father figure in my life was filled by God. And so I guess I don't really have any advice to give, because that's the one advice that I would ever give anyone without a dad or a mum.
If I had to give some advice to my younger self, it would probably be just to kind of be around the house more, I feel like I'm very in and out of my household at times, like going to boarding school and then on the weekends just kind of going out and not spending a lot of time at home. I feel like I should spend as much time at home with my family as possible while I can. Because it's like, it's important, because a lot of people don't realize how fortunate they are to have like a full family in the house, especially if it's like people that don't have a father could just as easily lose their mum or something like that,
I took on the responsibility to protect my siblings because I'm the oldest out of the four. So I felt like I needed to be the dad in the family and help my mum with everything and just
pick up a lot of responsibility where maybe a normal 9-year-old wouldn't have to. And I felt like I had to become really mature and independent really prematurely, I guess.
So I kind of, grew into my own shoes pretty quickly, and I didn't I didn't feel the need to have a male figure anymore, or for that long anyway.
Yeah, if I was to have a conversation with my dad, I would just tell him about what's going on in my life, but I would never let him into or I guess it would just be surface level, I wouldn't go deep. I wouldn't talk about things like I would with my mum or with a friend, it's just, he can't, I don't let him have really any input in my life, or I don't take any advice from him, because why would I?
If I could say something to my dad now, it would probably just be something light but like meaningful, I guess. Kind of just like a hi, how are you, like how's it going kind of thing, you know. It's kind of just like you want to catch up, you want to just, I don't know, be in each other's presence, if you will.
Honestly, if I could say something to my dad now, I don't think it would be much. It would just be, I hope you're proud of me. I hope I've done you well, like, you know, hope of kind of, because obviously my last name comes from him, so I hope I've done the Coultas family proud in a way.